Who are you? No, seriously, who are you? And while we're at it, how did you get in here? All jokes aside, having a strong sense of self-awareness helps you to truly know yourself. The good, the not so good, and all the messy stuff in between. And being more self-aware helps you to draw on your strengths and to address the stuff that might need a bit of work if it's not helping you to be the best version of yourself possible. So today I'm sharing 6 ways to improve your self-awareness. Let's talk. Hi, I'm Jeremy Godwin and I talk about looking after your mental health. I had a total breakdown in 2011 followed by quite a few years of severe depression and anxiety, and that took me on a journey of trying to learn more about my mental health and mental health in general. I went back to university, studied psychology and sociology, and now I focus on delivering what I couldn't find. Simple advice on how to look after your mental health from someone who actually understands what it's like to go through mental health challenges. So let's talk about how to become more self-aware. And I want to start with something very philosophical, which is that in 1997, a group of 5 philosophers known as the Spice Girls asked, "Who do you think you are?" And I believe that it's a question we should all be asking ourselves on a regular basis. Why? Because when you focus on building greater self-awareness, and when you know yourself, and I mean truly know yourself, all your flaws and everything, you're able to be more authentic and you can make better choices that are more in line with who you want to be. And that matters because in order to grow and evolve, we have to be honest with ourselves about the stuff that might not be in our own best interest long term. So my first tip for how to be more self-aware is make some time for deep reflection. And this is about sitting down and having some honest, objective, and judgment-free conversations with yourself about who you are, where you are, how you got there, where you're heading, and what needs to change to get there. It's important to begin by being honest with yourself about where you are today, because you need to know where you are before you can hope to plan where you're going. And part of that involves my next point. Be honest with yourself about your mindset. Are you naturally optimistic or pessimistic? Are you generally positive, or do you tend to default to the negative? Look, there's no right or wrong. However, research has shown that people who tend to be more negative and pessimistic often have lower life satisfaction than those who are more positive and realistically optimistic. Next, observe your emotions and seek to understand them instead of just reacting. Because when you just react to your emotions without taking the time to consider where they're actually coming from, then it can feel like you have no control over your feelings, but you do, and you always do. You cannot control external events or other people, but you can absolutely control what you do and say, as well as what you choose to do with your feelings. When you pause and consider what it is that you're feeling, and then seek to understand why you're feeling that way, in order to get to the root cause, instead of just going with the emotion and then causing carnage, you then begin to better understand yourself. And then you can respond to things in a much more thoughtful and considered way. Next, be clear about who you are and what you want out of life, because this is what will guide you, and hopefully that should then inform the decisions that you make. Now, part of that involves recognizing that you can learn just as much about yourself by exploring what you don't want out of life, as well as what you do. And again, this is about truly understanding yourself and knowing yourself. And it's something that doesn't just happen instantly. It takes time, regular effort, and perseverance. So spend a little bit of time each day connecting with yourself to better understand what you do and do not want. And you don't need to overthink this either. Even just a few moments of contemplation each day while you're having a coffee or a tea can be more than enough time to begin this process, but keep it going. Okay, next, use a journal to build your self-awareness. Putting your thoughts down on paper can really help you to get them out of your mind. And I don't know about you, but I'm a venter. So when I'm feeling some type of way, I find that most of the time, just getting it out, either on paper or talking to someone else, really makes the world of difference. The important thing here is that when you're writing stuff or talking about it, to be objective and non-judgmental. In my work, I talk a lot about being kind, and that means being kind to others as well as to yourself. So spend a few minutes a day just jotting down your thoughts, and that can really help you to get to know yourself better. You may also find a few minutes of daily gratitude practice to be helpful. By identifying what you're grateful for, you can get a much better idea of what actually matters most to you in life, just as you can by spending time thinking about your priorities so that you're clear on the stuff that really does matter versus what doesn't. Next, I want to encourage you to explore different perspectives rather than only focusing on your own. I think there's a bit of a tendency to focus on ourselves, certainly in Western countries like here in Australia. And the thing is that while you may not agree with other people, that doesn't mean that they don't have something to teach you, even if that thing is what not to do in order to be a decent human being. Discover new ideas, new ways of thinking, new perspectives. Ask questions and learn about the broader world, not just your little corner of it. Look, there are roughly 8 billion of us on this planet, and we're all unique. And I'm sorry to have to break this to you, but your way of living and doing things is not the only way. And it may not even be the best way. So be curious about the external world beyond your own little bubble, and you'll find that you begin to become much more self-aware of your own opportunities to grow as a result of what you discover. And to paraphrase a well-known quote, if you always think what you always thought, then you'll always get what you always got. And remember that staying the same is stagnation, not growth. If you want to be the best version of yourself possible, then you need to grow. And in order to grow, you need to choose to expand your mind and become even more self-aware. The choice is yours, as it is with all things related to your well-being. So, what choice will you make today? Let me know in the comments below. And improving your self-awareness helps with building your self-worth. And that's something I discuss in this video, where I talk about how to improve your sense of self-worth. So click the link to watch it next. And you'll find even more advice on looking after your well-being in my weekly podcast, Let's Talk About Mental Health. It's linked in the description below. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take care and talk to you next time.